Welcome to my channel on Cat Africa Live, a channel that brings you insight of African politics. Today, I'm not alone. I'm with one of Africa's own son, Mr. Gael Clavis Johnson. Your name is very beautiful, and if you don't take care, you are going to bite your tongue with the girl or guy. So unless you correct me when I make mistake. But I'll call you Mr. Clavis, right? Said that one is good. It seems is our guest is there was some issue, right? Uh, hello viewers. We are here with a guest called Mr. Clavis. It seems the network is messing up there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like the network's messing up around.
Um, you go off and on and off. So let's move. So today we are with a guest from South Africa. But before we continue, I want to introduce you to my viewers. Mr. Clavis is a mathematician, scientist, professional teacher, researcher in higher college and author, certified from South Africa Department of Higher Education and training member of the South African Council of Educators. Mr. Clavis is the author of the book Afro Democracy, New Africa Order, which was published by Nova Science Publishers in New York, United States. His name, his next publication in line will be titled Theories of Tribalism. It will involve debates, controversies, Afro-democracy, and his other book, which will be also released very soon, is Mathematics and Mind Between Mindset and Applied Methods. And as I already said, he is about to talk to us from Johannesburg, South Africa. So, Mr. Clavis, welcome to Uncut Africa Live.
Thank you for having me on the channel.
Yeah. So I want to ask, uh, after this particular interview, I know many people haven't read your book yet, but
Mhm,
definitely after this interview, people are going to read your book.
mhm.
So I want you to give us a gist of a content in your book which is titled Afro Democracy. If we say Afro Democracy, what do you mean by that?
Well, by talking about Afro democracy, as you can see, Afro in reference to African values, to African cultures, to African morals, and democracy as the power by the people of the people, as you know. So, why did I
Yeah.
call it Afro democracy? Because I believe that for Africa to reach freedom, to achieve that freedom that we're always fighting for, we need to change the governing system of our countries. Now,
Yeah.
when I talk about governance system, I condense somewhere our ways as we do in politics. Because today, when we look across Africa, it's everyone almost denouncing neo-colonialism, denouncing imperialism, denouncing the West. But how is that possible that we're taking the West out of our countries? That is almost like the devil to us, but we're still holding on the coat of that devil. We're taking the devil out, but we're still holding on the jacket of that devil. So how is that possible? Because if you don't want the West, if we are chasing the West out of Africa, let us do away as well with I'm saying, any political system that was given to us or imposed on us by the West. So when we talk about governing system imposed on us by the West, there is also what we call the democratic governing system. You see, so democratic governing system, it's not possible if we don't have republics. Now, when we look at Africa all over, from north, south, east, and west, we have republics all over Africa. How is that possible that even countries that colonized any of the countries in Africa, who are not republics, like the UK, like the United Kingdom, but by the time they decided to pull out of Africa, then they baptized their colonies as republics? Where did they get it from? In the book Afro Democracy, New African Order, I'm just trying to change the ways of politics in Africa, that we are not republics and we cannot be republics and expect to develop our countries and be called free as long we are keeping with us what belongs to the West alone. Republics to me, it's like a conspiracy. It was put on us as the way to loot our resources. Now, when we talk about the resources, each and every
Yeah.
country in Africa got resources, but look at the people. The people they say that are democratic, to whom the power belongs to, as we talk about the context of democracy. Why are those people poor? Because I believe that if you have power, you don't have the reason to be poor. Look at the presidents. They have power, they are in power, and they are rich. But how is that possible that democracy is the power of the people and the very same people of African countries are poor? How is that possible? When I look at that aspect of facts, it shows that if the people are poor, which means they don't have democracy. If they don't have democracy, which means they don't have that power that will give them the decision making authority over their own resources. So, no power, no democracy. That is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. So, for that matter, we need a new kind of democracy. That is what I'm calling Afro democracy. Actually, in that context of Afro democracy, as the new African order, I am standing against this mindset of black people whereby they stand against the West, they denounce the West, they chase the West out of Africa, but they still hold on what the West imposed on them, like the Republic, the presidency as well. Because if we all stand and run for the presidency, who are we trying to defend there? Whose culture, whose legacy? The presidency is not from us black people. So if we are against the West, why are we entertaining the presidency? If you are against the West, why are we entertaining democracy? Because democracy is the power by the people. Yet the people don't have power. Because if those people got power, they wouldn't be impoverished as is the case right now in Africa, in all African countries. We can see that across Africa, we have poor people. We have poor people. So if we have poor people in all African countries, where then is democracy? Where then is democracy? We read all over here that Kenya is at least a model of democracy. Ghana is the model of democracy. South Africa is the model of democracy. Well, they can say that probably because they want to maintain democracy in Africa. They want to maintain that governing system on us. But when I look at it in a scientific prospect, I don't see any democracy there, because if there was democracy in Ghana, if there was democracy in Kenya and in South Africa, there wouldn't be poor people. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. They wouldn't be
Yeah.
poor people, because the people with power who are under the democratic rule, they will decide on everything that concerns them, whether it's the land, whether it's the resources, whether whatsoever that concerns them, the people will decide. So who's that kind of group of people that will decide against themselves, only to find out that only to end up poor? Who are those kind of people? I don't see any. If the people are poor, it's simply because they don't have that power of decision. And if they don't have that power of decision, which means there's no democracy as the power of the people by the people. And if there's no democracy, which means we don't have the proper governing system that is proper for black people. That's simple. So for that matter,
So,
I decided to write on F for democracy as the new African order, in order to change the ways of politics in Africa. Otherwise, there's no way we'll come out of poverty. As I look at all these things, the way it's going on in Africa.
if I understand you proper, then uh, for some time now, many Africans are worried about our democratic system because they find it not to be a perfect system
Mhm.
for African politics. Some even think this democratic system we are experiencing breed corruption. The current democratic system we are now using, some think it breeds corruption because sometimes before you pick a form to be a candidate for a political party,
Mhm,
they they mention huge amount of money before you can pick a political form
mhm,
to be a candidate for a political party.
mhm.
So some think if you are going to charge this amount of money for a leader, for somebody to become a leader, it means somehow you are selling the candidacy to them. And when they come, they have to make money out of it. They have to make their profit. So what do you think of our current democratic system, the Africans? Because majority of Africans, especially the sub-Saharan Africans, we practice the Western type of democracy. So, what do you think this type of democracy? Do you think is it favoring Africa or is not favoring Africa?
Well, first of all, we go for elections because we want to change the regime.
Yes.
Now, we want to change the regime because we're not satisfied with the current regime. Let us put that way. Now, in my thinking and in my understanding, I believe that regime change, political regime change in Africa is not the hope of the people. That is the
Yes.
first point. It's not the hope of the people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the case of migration, from Zimbabwe. We wouldn't have the case of people complaining in DRC, in Gambia, all those countries. They had political regime change, but still the people are not satisfied. That's the first point. So I believe that the opposition and the outgoing leadership of the outgoing political leadership, none of the two is the hope of the people. So we should just do away from now on about the elections and think about a new ways of leadership in Africa. Now, when we talk about democracy, as I was saying earlier, what is
Yeah.
the point of us standing against the West, denouncing the West as the looter of our resources,
Yeah.
yet on the other side, we are holding on what the West has given us, has imposed on us. It's like chasing out the devil and still holding on that devil's jacket. But it's
Values. Yeah.
obvious that the devil will come back for his jacket. That is the purpose. So you took the West out, claiming independence, claiming freedom, whatsoever, but you still maintain in your country the governing system that is from the West. It's obvious that the West will come in, or they want to choose the political candidate. They want to choose who will sit in the presidency. They know that the people are poor. They know that somewhere in the environment of poor people, there might be someone with right thinking, and
Yeah.
that right thinking will stand against their own interest. So what can
Yeah.
they do? Here comes a certain amount before you run for president. But where is the people going to get? Where the people actually are going to get that amount of money? If it's not the very same people who are stealing from the people. So it is already a very difficult situation we put into, and all that in the name of what? In the name of democracy. So where is democracy coming from? From the West. So what are we doing as black people? We are taking out the West, and we are still keeping the West in our midst, in a way or the other. So I believe, as I've written in my book, that all we have to do is a new way of democracy. We have to take out that current democracy, that liberal democracy we always talk about, and bring in Afro democracy that is in line with our values, in line with our cultures, in
Yeah.
line with our beliefs. Because there's some kind of there's some topics that as Africans we don't usually want to talk about in a political environment.
Yeah.
We believe that because of the republic, because of the constitution of the republic, we cannot come out and say that I'm tribal. I belong to this tribe here. I'm tribalist or something like that. We feel like it's offending or something like that. You see, because what the republic wants us to talk about. Citizenship, like, I'm from Ghana, I'm from Cameroon, I'm from Senegal. So that's what they want us to talk about. But how can you be from Ghana if you don't belong to a certain tribe? How is that possible? So the tribe actually, when you look at it, even that definition in the dictionary, what does it mean? It is referring to what is called as nationalism. So nationalism, it's not a bad thing. Just that as in the tribal context, we are restricted to a certain group, and they don't want us to be in that context. They want us to shift from that point to the presidency. But when we go to the presidency, we all know that as soon as a leader is elected, he does not serve the people on the ground of equality. He does not do that. There is always a kind of preference, whether we like it or not. In all African countries, a leader always give preference to the people is sharing the same tribe with, which is to say that whether we like it or not, we are tribal, and we will still be like that. Tribalism is in us, and not in the bad way, because it's just nationalism. It's all about caring about what belongs to me, what is close to me, so on. And so if we have to be like that in the tribal context, then it's okay. But it doesn't work with us in the national context as the republic. That is where democracy is failing. That is where democracy is failing. So we need a new kind of governance that will respect each and everyone's tribe, that will respect each and everyone's culture, each and everyone's beliefs, but without offending other tribes, if I have to put it that way, without offending another group of people, without giving more advantage to one group, and the other group is just neglected because like they don't matter, because they're not in power. That is the conflict we are having around the power in the presidency, and that is related to democracy. So for that matter, I don't believe that democracy can bring solutions to our problems in Africa. Whether we like it or not, it's been decades. We never got through under democracy. On
So
the
I
opposite,
want to.
everybody is suffering. We're
There is something.
suffering.
There is something that is really bothering my mind when
Yeah.
you realize Rwanda uh, is their current leader is Paul Kagame, Mr. Paul Kagame.
Mhm. Yeah.
He has been in power for, I think, 29 years now.
Yeah.
And are we going to call his own democratic system, or he has taken the African, the Western democracy, and he has modernized it and make it his own, and decide to do whatever he wants with it? Because it's really bothering me, because I've been thinking of it that he has been in power for a very long time, and after he has been in power too, it seems he has done well for his country. Do you think Africans need such type of democracy for them to succeed?
No, no. In fact, in that context, there's no democracy. There's no democracy in that context, if I have to put it that way, because I never been in Rwanda, but all I know that Rwanda is impoverished. There's nothing like. I can't believe Mr. Ducraft when people say, okay, he has done something meaningful for his country. It's not by building roads, by building public infrastructures, and then you say that you've done something for your country. You can build all that, but if it's still there is someone in the village far over there in Rwanda who's sleeping on the floor, who's hungry, who does not have medical needs, who does not have all the basics that he needs for his life, then it's a failure for such a leader. It's a failure for such a leader. Now, as I'm saying, I never been in Rwanda, but let's put it in this perspective of my research. I believe that the tribe of Mr. Paul Kagame is the people from that tribe actually are the ones who are mostly benefiting from his leadership, whether we like it or not. That is the fact in all African countries, you see. So in that context alone, I can see one type of democracy that is not suitable for the republic, but there's a kind of democracy there. There's a kind of nationalism there, like my own must be served, because in case of anything, they'll be the ones to support me. And if you ask the people who are from the tribe of the president, they will tell you that there's democracy. They will tell you that the country is doing well. They will tell you that the leader is good. But go and ask the people who are from the tribe that is far from the tribe of the president, they will
Yeah.
tell you that there's nothing going well. They will tell you that. But all of them are in the same country. all of them are under the same democratic role. So where is democracy if somewhere it's only a group of people who are satisfied, a group of people who's doing well, and on the other side, because the president belongs only to one tribe. So if the country has, I guess in Rwanda they have about three major tribes, which means one of the tribe is not satisfied, but two others, they are not satisfied. So it's already the majority there, if you have to put it that way. So the majority of people not satisfied, while the minority is satisfied. In that context, there will be no elected president in Africa.
That what
Be no uh,
it seems there is a network challenges happening at the other side of our guest, who is Mr. Clavis. He's having some network challenges, but we are talking about the Africa democracy and its effects on Africans. Africa democracy and its effect. Currently, I asked him about how Rwanda, how Rwanda practicing a democratic system, or Mr. Paul Kagame has taken the Western democracy and he has made it his own. And he gave some exciting, some good answer. But what he's saying, a friend of mine who is a Rwandese, somehow uh, contacted me somewhere last year. He's from Rwanda, but he's currently living in where do we call it? He's currently living in Canada. He went to Canada because somehow he was they were being threatened because they were feeling unsafe in Rwanda. So he contacted me recently and he was telling me he wanted to use my platforms.
whoa, whoa,
Okay,
whoa, whoa,
there is
whoa.
a network issues.
Yo, yo, yo,
So
yo. I don't
yeah,
know
so
what's
I
going
was
on with this
yeah,
network.
what you were saying, there's one friend of mine who
Yeah.
is a Rwandese. I was with him in Kenya. I
Mm-hmm,
schooled in Kenya for 5 years. So I
mm-hmm,
was with him in Kenya, and he was in Kenya because he was seeking asylum in Kenya, like a
mm-hmm.
refugee in Kenya.
Yeah.
And after I came to Ghana in 2010, he also continued to Canada. He went there to also seek asylum there,
Mm-hmm,
and they gave him. Uh, he recently contacted me and he was talking to me how Mr. Paul Kagame is really not is focusing on one tribe, and he's not what we think he is. That is what he was telling me.
mm-hmm,
So he wanted me to use my platform to campaign or to voice out against some atrocities he is causing in Rwanda. So when he said that, I was like, oh, okay, so he should tell me more about it. And he started telling me how his governance always focused on only one tribe and how their tribe are being seen as non progressive
mm-hmm,
tribe in Rwanda.
mm-hmm,
After that, I said, oh, okay, I'll give him chance. But I wanted to know the facts on the ground before I touch this issue. Then recently, I did a content about uh, I think 5 Africans
mm-hmm,
leaders that don't relate Western countries, and a certain guy sent me a whole list of I included Mr. Paul Kagame, and he told me I shouldn't see Mr. Paul Kagame as what he is because he's also a Western puppet.
Hmm.
So he gave me a whole tour list. And he was even telling me Mr. Paul Kagame somehow also have a hand in what is happening in Congo.
Yeah.
And I was shocked because how Ghana here, a lot of people reference is Mr. Paul Kagame. Whenever there is an argument about development, everybody points at Mr. Paul Kagame that look at what he has been able to take Rwanda from 1994 to now, what he has been able to achieve. So you also saying it is kind of something that we really have to. We will have a whole content of that particular discussion. I wish I can know. I wish I can also bring that my Rwandese friend on it so that we can discuss. So somehow I agree. I think his the way he's doing it on his own to favor his own. So I wanted to ask some question. You know, many great Africans or Africans in diaspora like Marcus Garvey and W.E. Du Bois, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and great Pan African has proposed that Africa should unite because that is the only way Africa will succeed.
Yeah.
The unity of Africa is the only way Africa will succeed. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think? You think? What is your view about the African unity?
First of all, when I go back
Okay.
debate controversies and Afro democracy, so in that book, as I did my research,
It seems Mr. Clavis is facing a lot of network challenges. Mr. Clavis is facing a lot of network challenges. We are talking to him live from South Africa, Johannesburg. I don't know how strong their networks is. So if you are able to watch me, we are talking to Mr. Clavis Johnson, and we are having a chat with him. It seems the network is not really favoring you there. The network is not favoring you. So you let talk. Those who are online, we are talking about Africa democracy and its effect on Africans. We have talked a lot about how the current democratic system we are practicing is not really favoring Africans because at the end of the day, this type of governance was proposed to us. This type of governance was proposed to us by the Western countries. So we have talked a lot. Uh, the network is really not favoring you. The network is really not favoring you. Um, the, net, the network is not favoring you.
strong connection. I can show the screen. I don't. The signal is strong right here.
Ah,
Yeah.
because you normally
I don't know
disappear.
if I don't know if I can turn the phone. You read it yourself. It's written strong.
Ah, oh, okay. Oh,
So I
it's
don't know.
normally you normally disappear, then you it goes blank, then it comes back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It goes black on the side too. So
Oh, oh, I see.
yeah.
Because today I'm using a whole fiber table net, so normally it's my table net is very strong here too. But you know,
So
don't worry. So
I don't know, but it's disturbing the viewers who are watching this online. All this
yeah,
interruption,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's going to disturb them too. But let's try and see if we can continue small and wrap it up. Then we find a day of a very strong network for us to talk a lot more. So as I was saying, do you
Yeah.
think the proposal of Africa unity is really a good idea?
Yes, the proposal of African unity is a very good idea, but there's a problem with African politicians. They don't know how to define unity they are calling out for. They don't know how to define that because we cannot talk about unity in the Republican context. We cannot talk about that. Just look at the case of Rwanda. You see, here is Mr. Paul Kagame, but there is another group of people who, no one is satisfied with him. So how can Paul Kagame call about unity of Africans when he cannot even bring about unity within the country? That is the mistake African politicians are always making. You cannot call out unity of African countries without bringing unity within your own country first. So how is that possible that we can achieve that Kwame Nkrumah's dream when we cannot even bring about that dream in reality within our own country? That is where
Yeah.
I believe that African unity, it's a good proposal, but it's not anything that we can achieve at anytime soon. It's not possible in this context of politics and republics and democracies. We cannot achieve that African unity. That is a lie that we are feeding ourselves with.
Yeah.
We need to go
Ah,
back to our roots first. That's why I'm talking about Afro democracy. We need to go back to our roots first, break down that kind of a cloud, a political cloud that was put on us, like a republic whatsoever. Because if we are not united in our countries, it's because of the republic. The republic is there to serve the interests of the West. That's what we know. So look at Mr. Kagame, he's right there. He's only serving Stripe for support, internal support, but largely he's serving the West. If you look at whatsoever is getting from Congo, from the eastern part of Congo, whatsoever they are
yeah.
looting there, and if he had to invest all that in Rwanda, Rwanda wouldn't be what it is today. So he's taking much from Congo, but the major part of it is going out of Rwanda to the West, and is only being left with a small percentage of that, and that is serving his tribe, is serving himself, his family, and then whatsoever the country is making is what he's trying to use to develop the part of the country, not the country as a whole. Because if you go to Rwanda, there are some places when you go there, you see, well, you'll be thinking that is this the development they're talking about? Is this the model of development they're talking about? You'll be deceived. You'll be disappointed. You'll be sorry about what you'll be seeing there. So most African countries only show us the good parts, the nice constructions they've achieved so far. This is Rwanda, this is Tanzania, this is Zimbabwe, but I don't believe all that kind of noise. Go and see the least citizen who's living in the village. No, perhaps the village is too far, just in the capital city, in those forest neighborhood. Go and see how they are living. Then you believe, then you judge yourself whether what they're showing us on the media, on TV, is really in line with what we see there. So
Yeah.
that is all about just playing our minds that Rwanda is doing well, but I believe that Africa, the entire Africa, is not doing well at all. As long we are republics, we'll never do well. We'll never. And we'll
It's
never
going to be
achieve that unity as well.
it's going to be very difficult for us to to unite because but what I was thinking is United Africa should have really helped, but as it stands now, I don't know where our problems comes from. I don't know whether we can start it from trade or start linking Africa together first through because like somebody here from Ghana coming to South Africa is more difficult than somebody from here going to Europe. That is
Oh,
what
well, so that challenge does not result of Africans mindset. I don't believe that. If it's
yeah,
difficult for us to move across Africa, it's because of the interests of the West. So the
yeah,
West have created the African country, like that is my own playground. So I don't want my Western neighbor who's also having another playground, who's a neighboring to my playground, to just allow his people, no, not his people, but the slaves, which is me and you, the black people, to move from that country to the other. So it's all about the plan that was imposed on us. That is why I call the African country as a country system. The African country is a system. That is how we should say it. That's what I've said in my book. It's a system. When we talk about the resources, they are confiscated under the presidency. When we talk about the land is confiscated under the presidency. So if we just have to do away from the presidency, we see that the land will be free. We see that our
Yeah.
resources as well will not be taken again, in huge percentage outside while the people are
Yeah.
suffering. So all those things are happening just because you have the presidency. Now we'll do some simple mathematics. Let's take a country of millions of people, but we have just one leader who's the so-called president, because I don't believe in the presidency. The
Yeah.
so-called president, just one person. What it takes is that person to be under the control of the West, for millions of people in that country to be under the control of the West. That is too easy. That is too easy for the West. We have to realize that. Just one president is controlled by the West, then millions of Africans are controlled systematically. How is that possible? Because because of the system. So we chase out the worst, but we're still holding on their system. And because of that, we are suffering. So the presidency is making it easier for the West to control millions of Africans in a country, and also to have their hands easily on our resources and on other aspects that were supposed to serve the black people. So we have to
Yeah.
do away with the presidency. That's a way to go.
Af- Af- African youths are gradually, they are gradually losing confidence on this continent. Majority are spending huge amount of money traveling and see greener pastures in Europe,
Mhm.
USA. Sometimes even they even travel to Middle East. So do you think we can because at the moment, like this channel, we can't just be always be talking and we are doing no action.
Mhm.
As my as till I go out from this world, I want to see some progress,
Mhm.
Africa moving forward. That is the
Mhm.
dream, because at the end of the day, we can't keep continuing just be talking, blaming the West, doing that, doing this. And what I've realized is because of our system, how we have mold our system as this democratic system,
Mhm.
it has it has made the whole system corrupt.
Mhm.
It has made the whole system corrupt. So this generation, some generation will come, complain about another generation. Then when it gets to that generation, another generation will also complain about this generation. So it's like generationally, we are always complaining. Generationally, we are just recycling. We are just complaining. These people are corrupt. These people are puppets. These people are this. It's like that is the format Africans has been built to do. Recently, I was and one thing, me my difficulties with a lot of Africans is it seems I don't know if it's our educational system or like I would say only about Ghana because we have other African countries who are very proud of themselves, but it seems most Africans are uh, having a problem of self love. It's like we are more like we are self. It's like always whenever something happens between uh, Ghana and other people will go and support the other countries, the European countries or something like that. It's like always they are talking down on African countries. Like if Ghanaians travel to Europe, the first thing they will do is they will pick a phone and make videos and talk trash about Ghana, how Ghana is struggling, and if you want to survive, you have to leave the country. So a lot of people, a lot of professionals are also running away. A lot of professionals are really running away from Ghana. Doctors and nurses are running away. You think there is a day where what we have to start something that will project the confidence of African youth about this continent?
Well, I'm putting it this way, Mr. De Graft. When I wrote Afro Democracy, I said it's the new African order because in that book, I've addressed ways, I mean, scientific ideologies and critical thinking about
Yeah,
how, first of all, to stop, this mass migration of black people, how to stop about poverty, how to occupy the land that has been confiscated, how to have the control over the resources. And I've proposed a new political system that is Afro-democratic, whereby we have to close all the platform that is giving the West the power to to
yeah,
to 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 control us and to bring all kind of instability in our countries. When people are leaving their countries and go to Europe, for an example, what is exactly taking them out? To me, I believe they've been forced out of their lands because those lands shouldn't be occupied by all these young people, because the more we are young, the more we are many, we stand as a threat to the West. So what will take us out of our country is the political system. So they can be like, okay, we are gone. You have your own independence. You have your own. You have democracy. But when I look at it with my scientific reasons, I believe that we've chased the devil out, but we kept on with his coat, with his jacket, with whatsoever. So the devil is out, but something that belongs to him is still on our land. And that is the political system we have in our African countries. So here I come with a proposal. First of all,
yeah,
I don't blame the West for anything. To me, I believe that we are the cause of our own problems. Why? Because here I am as a politician. I go for elections. Who told me to go for elections? Because there is a constitution. Who suggested the constitution on me and to my country? No, because there is a republic. We created the republic because it is democracy. Who created democracy? Were you there as a black man when that democracy was, conceived? When it was implemented in our country, were you there to consider your value, your culture, your way of thinking, your beliefs? Were you there for that? No. Anything I believe that was proposed to us by the West does not serve the interests of black people. So that starts from democracy, from the constitution, from the republic, from the presidency as well. So when we have the outgoing leader from the presidency, and here is the leader from the opposition who wants to go to join the presidency and be elected, all of them, to me, they are one person. They all contribute in the suffering of the people, because what are they doing? They are entertaining the ideologies of the West that were imposed on us, because the republic was created on which ground? They took away the powers of our traditional leaders. They took away the powers of our masters. They took away the powers of our king, because those kings were like challenges, they were obstacles to the West. So they had to take all that away from them and create the republic and put someone there they can control, so that from that person, once that person is controlled, it is the millions of people in that country. I mean, how is that possible? That is too easy for the West. So all we have to do, beside the fact that we are talking about against the constitution whatsoever, all we have to do right now is just to take the presidency out. It is easy. If we just take the presidency out, the West will not have anywhere else to control us. Because if they have to do that, then they have to do that over millions of people in a country. Unlike the way they've been doing that over one leader, the president of the republic. So you do it. If you don't do it, then we'll expose your crime. You do it. If you don't do it, then you see something like that. Then the president will be like, okay, let me just do. Then we'll see today the president is criticizing the West, but tomorrow we'll still travel to the West to go and apply for a loan from a certain country. So what does it mean? You see, it's all that. So all we
yeah.
have to do, we close the presidencies. We don't need that, because that is the Western ideologies on us. So if you don't want the West, if you want them out of Africa, we should also do away with all the ideologies and go back to our roots, where the West found us in the beginning of, let me just say, before all this colonization. Let us go back there As long we are not going back there with our minds, we're just going back there according to our values and according to our culture. And from there, we'll build a new ground of democracy, which I called Afro democracy. Afro in respect to our beliefs, our values, our cultures, and democracy as the power of the people. So when I talk about respect of our beliefs, I believe that there shouldn't be anyone from a certain tribe to be above other tribes, like the case of Rwanda. Here is a leader from a certain tribe who is the president above other tribes. No, 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 no. He cannot serve all of them equally. And that is not only the case in Rwanda, it's the case in every African country. That's what I have to say. The people who enjoy democracy is only the people who are close to the president, and they are mainly, tribesmen, the people from the same tribe. So where is democracy? Let us just put that Western ideology as democracy aside and adopt our own democracy, which I call Afro democracy, with respect to our values, because no one wants to do away with his culture. We all want to be, that is my culture, this is me, this is me. So if that's the case, then let us adopt a governing system that will respect that culture of each and everyone, so that at least there will be no blame games like it's because of these people, it's because of this leader, it's because of this tribe. So no one will blame the other. Meanwhile, we are all moving together towards development and so on. There will be no one that will be like putting pressure on him, like the case with African president. There will be no such. So in Afro democracy, we don't support the presidency. That is the context right there. And if you don't support the presidency, if you can just close the presidency, then the lands that was confiscated by the presidency, sorry, will be free. You see, the resources that were sold out to the West, in huge percentage while the people are suffering, will not be the case anymore, because that one signature of that one man, the president of the republic, will not be available anymore. So if they want such, they have to deal with millions of people in that country. Then in that way, they will see how Africans can speak out. They will see whether Africans are lazy or not. They will see whether Africans are making history or not. But otherwise, I can tell if I can go further, we can have even revolutionary leaders. But as long we still keep the Western ideologies in our country, history will repeat itself. I can tell. We still go
So
back
good.
this way.
You have realized there has been some events happening in West Africa,
Yeah.
which yeah, like country like Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. There has
Mm.
been some coup d'etat which has shaken West Africa. And recently, I found out that they are also coming out with their own confederation, which will take affairs. So it's like they
Mm.
are really going away from ECOWAS.
Mm.
So they want to form their own federation so that it can control them. A lot of people, a lot of especially Pan Africans, are supporting the current leaders who have taken over from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, because they are thinking West Africa. You realize West Africa have, I think, in Africa, one region that has a lot of resources. I think West Africa,
Mm.
Nigerians with huge oil, Niger with lithium, Ghana gold, and all these things. They have, so it has made a lot of what do you call it? The leaders, West African leaders, some think most of them are being controlled by the Western countries, because
Mm.
after the Mali and Niger coup, France was even going to support ECOWAS to go and take intervention
Mm.
in Niger. So a lot of people think the West African leaders, the ECOWAS leaders, are somehow being controlled. So with the happening in West Africa currently, do you think the three countries situation will somehow help our democracy as it stands now?
Well, I will say that as long we see republics in Africa, all African leaders are still controlled by the West. Whether they are Western puppets or they are revolutionary leaders, as long they are still republics, they are still under the control of the West, no matter what, no matter who's leading. That's the first
yeah,
point. The second point, as long they claim to be president, so the leader of one tribe, I don't put that context of tribe aside. That is why
yeah,
I'm writing the theories of tribalism, because I know what is hidden in there. So as long there is a president who belongs to a certain tribe above other tribes in the country, I will still say that that country, that president is still under the control of the West, because that country is claiming to be the president of was created not by him, not by his great parents, but by the West. That is where I'm saying, like, you cannot chase the devil out and still hold on his jacket. How is that possible? Now, when we look at the context whereby we have these Western leaders who are changing history, having their own alliance whatsoever, it's very good. It's very good.
yeah,
But I also believe that, as in history, what is happening right now, it's almost the same as what Thomas Sankara did. It's almost the
yeah,
same as what Muammar Gaddafi as well was preaching, standing
yeah,
against the West to serve African people. But
yeah,
as they were all republics, they were still a country. If tribes, man, like being from a certain tribe above other tribes, that means they were still under the control of the West. What was the end of Muammar Gaddafi? What was the end of Thomas Sankara? It is no. Now, Africans are making mistakes, and I'm afraid that history will repeat itself. That is where we are wasting energies instead of orientating that energy on strict point that will leave a legacy even after those leaders. Because I believe today we only have one Ibrahim Traore, we only have one Assimi Goita. We only
yeah,
have one General Chani. Now, I'm not wishing a misfortune on them, but let's just take the context that they are out today. Whatsoever they are building can also go along with them wherever they will be. That is possible. So the person can go, the man himself will go, but what are they putting in place as a system? That's why I'm coming with Afro democracy as a new ways, a new governing system. We have to change the system, take everything that is Western out, and install what is us, Africans, black, thought of us, created by us, that the West does not even have any point of entry. That's what we have to do. So that if the man is gone, but the system remains. That is the same case with the West. Neo-colonists are gone, settlers are gone, the West is gone, but the system they implemented in our country is still there, and we still feel like they are still there with us. So that is what I'm trying to talk about. The man can go, but what about the system? We have to live in the system is still leading the legacy. This is not a Republican system.
the network is messing up. Seems it, yeah, it seems the network was messing up. So, we had most of the things. So what we will do is, as we have talked about, we have really talked about your book. So your book, if anyone want to find some to buy, where can he get some? Afro Democracy, your book.
Oof, I
Okay, can you hear me now? The network, the network is giving us issues.
This
But,
network is really
yes.
disturbing.
Yeah, so I was asking if anyone want to find your book online or anywhere else, where can the person get some of your book?
Well, the book is online. You just have to type my name on Google. You will see me right there. You just have to type a keyword such as Afro democracy. you'll see me there. In that book, really, I'm trying to bring about how to get back the land that has been confiscated, because the confiscated land is the land that serves the West, not Africans. I'm trying to bring about ways to control our resources without any percentage going to the West. So the control of our resources, 100% to serve the black mother and child. Now, in that book as well, I'm trying to resolve issues about all these crises, like in the eastern part of Congo, and also how to stop about the killing of our revolutionary leaders. Because just look at recently what happened in Burkina Faso. They aborted a coup. So how, we can see like history is trying to repeat itself. And we don't want to see that again happening in Africa. We need those leaders to remain alive. But what can we do? Just that the network is not giving us a chance. But I wanted to develop another idea there Africans. Like, well, I don't know. Well, the book is online on the internet.
Yeah, yeah. What I've realized is
That is the source of
if
it.
you are doing a live, if you are doing live with someone outside Africa, you are going to have it smooth. But you are doing it for Africa around African countries, and you are going to have it very difficult. That are some of the situations we find ourselves.
Uh,
But
I
I
didn't
think
get you. I didn't get you. The network was not okay. What did you
yeah,
say just now?
I was saying what I've realized is if you are having conversation with someone across our own continent, you find it very difficult. You find it very difficult to communicate. But if you are doing it with someone outside Western country, you are going to have it smooth. That are some of the problems we find ourselves because it seems nothing really works well around the continent. But
Mhm,
all the same, we have been able to have a conversation. I think I'll have you next week too. I'll have you next week for you to come back and explain things well because we have had a very good chat and I think a lot of people just that the network hasn't really favored us.
mhm,
But I think maybe next week we are going to have it very smooth. We are going to have it very smooth.
mhm,
So thanks. You are really enlightening us about how Africa democracy have to be put in place because the currently what we are practicing is like we are standing at one place and we are just going circles.
mhm, mhm,
It's like deja vu. We go then come back the same thing. We go and come
mhm,
back the same thing. So if you had maybe some last word you want to tell the viewers, maybe you can also share something. Then we wrap up. Then we come back next week.
Well, thank you, Mr. De Graft. All I have to say to Africans like myself, I always call them in my book like my black brothers, like my brothers of the same color.
Yeah,
And sometimes I also call them brothers of light. So I believe that we all have that light, but to distract us. So the unity of Africa is achievable as long we still republics. That's impossible. The republic was created to divide us.
yeah,
The presidency is what that confiscates our
mhm,
lands and our resources as well. Yet, when someone stands to run for presidency, whether it's from the opposition or is the outgoing leader, none of them is for the people. None of them. Because they are just entertaining what belongs to the West. If we are Africans, we have to stand and think about what is Africans, what is Afro, what respects my value as a black man. That is where I earn my respect. So if we are chasing the West out, we must also chase what belongs to the West, including the Constitution of the Republic itself, the presidency, and democracy. We have to take out that way of governing whatsoever because it does not benefit any of us. 60 years of independence, 70 years of some countries, but we're still impoverished. What is impoverishing us? It's not our mindset. It's not our physical attitudes, but it's the presidency. It is the presidency. I believe that we have to close the presidency if we want to be free in Africa.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll never be, no matter who is in the presidency. If he's a puppet of the worst, we know what will be our lives. If he's not the puppet of the worst, we know that man risk for his life, being killed or civil war. If he's a revolutionary leader, we know what happens. We fear that history will repeat itself. We don't want that again. So all we have to do is to close what gives the West that power. The power of the West in Africa is the presidency, nothing else. Because through the presidency, a country of millions of people is just controlled through one man, the president. That is the shame of the black people. That's the shame of Africans. So I believe that we have to start thinking about political ways and change everything from scratch. We have to go back to the crossroad of our perdition. And that crossroad is where we decided to entertain the republic instead of our own values. I call for Afro-democracy instead of democracy. I call for the council of leadership instead of the presidency. That is my vision in the book Afro-Democracy, New African Order. Thank you, Mr. DeGraft.
Okay, okay. You have said a lot. So, my viewers, you can find his book online. You just go to Google and type in his name, Gael Clavis Johnson. If you go, it's Gael, then Clavis Clavis. Then you add Johnson, and you write with Afro Democracy. You are going to find his book online, which is I think you can get some in Amazon. I saw some in Amazon and other platforms. You are going to find his book. We have had a very good conversation, and all this conversation is all about the the goodness we want for the African continent. We have had enough of always being mocked around the world. I find it very pity of African professionals and African talent traveling traveling around, leaving the continent and going to work outside there whilst their continent needs them. Let me give you an example. Recently, Nigeria
Oof.
Nigerians just show us. I think there was a network issue. Nigerians just show us a few things about their music industry, and the music is they are now. If you are saying of
The sound is a
Afrobeat,
bit low.
yeah,
Mhm.
you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said Nigerians just show us a little bit of their talent when it comes to music side, and their music is all over the world. That shows that Africa we have talent, and if we are going to invest in ourselves, Africa is going to take over the world very soon. If we are really going to, we want to, we want to be serious about ourselves, because look at you. I think in South Africa you have been hearing Nigerian music is now all over the world, in
Yeah,
China,
yeah.
India. Yeah. Yes, so it means if we are really going to invest in the talent in Africa, Africa is going to do wonders. So, Mr. Clavis, I think I'll be back with you next week. I'll be back with you next week for
Anytime, anytime.
yeah, to talk more about different topic but surrounding Afro democracy.
That's appreciated.
Thanks. I really appreciate you for joining me. We will be back again next week. Next week.
Thank you too. Thank you too, Mr. Lee.
Yeah. So thanks. So viewers, those who haven't subscribed to my channel, you can subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime we upload any great content, you will be notified. And also, anytime we come on live like this, you are going to be the first person to get the notification. Thanks for watching. Thanks again, Mr. Clavis.
Thank
We'll
you.
meet on the other side.
All right.